All right, you guys. So I finally got to it. I made my freaking John Ford video and then completely forgot about it for like a month. It just completely slipped my mind. I'm an a-hole, but I finally remembered and I pulled it down. My Darling Clementine. Now I've already broken my rule because I said that I was gonna watch these and then just react to them. But I love this movie so much that I knew I needed to rewatch it and look at all the supplements or special features, depending on what you want to call them, and watch it again, especially because this one comes with a pre-release version that is supposed to be closer to Mr. Ford's vision, seeing as how he was unfortunately edited by his producer, Mr. Zanuck. So, yeah, My Darling Clementine. As I said, I loved it. Everything that people have said about John Ford is true. This is my second after The Searchers. The Searchers was my first, and I love this more than The Searchers. The Searchers had some good stuff in it, some powerful imagery, some some strong emotions. But this one is just stole my heart with the acting and the writing and the directing. Such a great movie. So well written, beautifully shot, well acted, and some witty lines that just they stay with you. And I think it's very true that I see it now. What people have described this movie as being, a Western movie that non-Western fans love. This is, if you are not a fan of Westerns at all, you've given them a shot, or somebody who dislikes them, they're probably at least gonna like this one. It's just really amazing, and I see, I was exposed first to Mr. Kurosawa, but I see the similarities and the influence, just like John Ford. They both like using nature, like wind. They both like using, the elements in the background, in the frame, either to, show the inner turmoil or inner feelings of the character, or just to make the picture dynamic. And it really does. Smoky bars, fog or smoke in the background, wind, dirt, just blowing through. It really does lend a lot to the image. So I am very happy with this one. I highly recommend it. This is out of print, but still not too expensive. Although you can also get Arrows, just regular release. I think it doesn't come. It may come with the pre-release version. I'll let you guys know, but it definitely doesn't come with the other Wyatt Earp OK Corral movie. What is it called? Frontier Marshal. Yeah, the disc's still in the player, but this is good. And if it doesn't, I'd say especially for U.S. Or North American people, you can pick up the Criterion. I definitely will pick up the Criterion someday, just to have them both, just to have different supplements. As far as I know, the images are supposed to be very similar. Probably you can't distinguish between one or the other. Yeah, you can't really distinguish between one or the other. But they're both, and I'm talking about the theatrical version and the pre-release version. They're both very good. There's not much difference between the two, just a couple of added scenes or changed things like that. That being said, I do agree that there were some shots or some scenes that were kind of obviously not John Ford, that just weren't on his level. And for the most part, most of them, I wish that we got what John Ford wanted. But there is one scene that I do enjoy more of Mr. Zanuck's version rather than Mr. Ford's, and that's the ending. Although I still appreciate John Ford's ending, and the ending, is not like a drastically thing. It's just one gesture that's different for those of you who have seen the movie. But I like Xanax. I think it adds something to the character of Wyatt Earp, which I haven't mentioned, but one reason why I enjoyed this movie as well is that I am a Kansas boy, half Kansas. I was partially raised in Dodge City, Kansas, so I'm acquainted with the legend of Mr. Wyatt Earp. So, that was interesting. That was kind of fun, having that connection to him, or to his story anyway. So this was really good, really fantastic. For those of you who don't want to stick around for the talk that I'm going to give about it, just a little bit of discussion. Just you can depart from here, go watch it. Just do it. If there's any list of mandatory John Ford's movies, even though this is literally the only second John Ford movie I've seen, it's mandatory. If you're going to dig into him, even just to get a little cursory view of his work, this is definitely one of them. So go watch it. Now, for those of you who are still around, I'm not going to talk too much spoilers. I'm going to assume that you all have seen the movie, but essentially, I think I do want to talk a little bit about some of the themes that I appreciated, or that I noticed. One thing that I really enjoyed, one thing that I loved, was that I was not aware of was day for night shooting. Essentially, shooting in the day and then manipulating the film image, darkening it somehow to make it look like it's night. And once you're told that it's day for night and you're exposed to what it is and you see how it looks, you don't miss it. Every single time that you see a new scene, it doesn't have to be pointed out to you anymore. You can recognize that it is day for night. There's almost too much definition in the clouds and in certain edges of buildings or objects or things like that you can kind of tell like that's not really naturally night. But it did fool me the first time. I guess I got too wrapped up in the story. I don't know. Some of you may probably recognize first viewing without being told that it was shot during the day. But I really appreciate it, and I can definitely see why they did it. I think it does make a certain contrast in the image better than if they actually shot it at night. I think one thing that I also really enjoyed was that this wasn't a straightforward story. I think that because it probably would have been very quick. It was kind of obvious who stole the cattle and shot and killed Wyatt's brother James. And if this was a story of just straightforward get to justice, it would have been a very short movie and probably less satisfying movie. I don't know, maybe it could probably be done right, but I'll have to see how Frontier Marshall handles it. I don't know if I don't think they follow the exact same storyline in that sense. But I really enjoyed I don't want to say meanderings, but essentially the different other things and other characters that the movie explores, instead of just being a straightforward path to revenge. Which I also have to add, Mr. Earp's introduction to the Clanton gang, and when they realize who he is, was so freaking satisfying. Better to me than John Wick's revelation, or not his revelation, but the characters who assaulted him. The dad and the son, played by Mr. Alfie Allen. When they realize who they fucked over, and then realizing that how badly they fucked up, this is better to me the look on the Clantons' face when they realize who they fucked with was just extremely. It was just freaking badass. All right, and the way Wyatt Earp just answers a question and then he just walks away, because he's not a presuming man. He's not full of himself. He didn't say that to scare them. You know, he's humble. He just explains who he is and he walks away. And his walk, I can definitely see why John Ford was also obsessed with the way Mr. Henry Fonda walked. I don't know why I needed to look that. Henry Ford is a freaking classic. But just to walk away, amazing. And one thing that I do love, I think what a lot of people do love about this movie, or what they're interested in, they love Henry Fonda, yes, but a lot of people tend to be more interested in Doc Holliday. And I get that he is a conflicted figure. You know, you can kind of maybe compare, you know, Doc Holliday to Batman and Wyatt Earp to Superman, in the sense of Wyatt Earp being the honorable goody two shoes, and Doc Holliday being the kind of conflicted, dark but still heroic in some ways character. But Wyatt Earp was really interesting to me in this. Where he starts from, and some of the character revelations about him, I just found really endearing and really interesting. He's not like this super goody two shoes. The way he brings out the girl Chihuahua, which is a ridiculous name to me, but he brings her out and then he just dunks her in the freaking slop bucket trench thing outside. You know, he's not a goody two shoes, but it's just things like that just add it. His awkwardness around Clementine, and just that scene that everyone loves with the dancing, and then just seeing him struggle with overcoming his shyness, overcoming his fear, which is so funny coming from somebody who has been in battles and fought and was marshal in Dodge City. You know, being afraid to ask this girl to dance and having to muster the courage to ask her to dance. I think I just found one, endearing and funny, but also, you know, something that I relate to. Because I've had to do the same thing, is muster courage to ask a girl for something that didn't come natural to me in my younger years. Still doesn't come natural, but with just scenes like that about Wyatt Earp just made me enjoy him as much as Doc Holliday. Probably do more, to be honest. I'm more interested in Wyatt Earp than Doc Holliday, although I really enjoyed the character Victor Mature's Doc Holliday. I think it was really good, although I'm told that a lot of people's favorite is Val Kilmer's Doc Holliday. I think that's who plays him in Tombstone. But which is a movie I still need to watch. I think the major theme, the major through line of this movie is about civilization. I think that's what a lot of what this is about. The scene where Wyatt Earp goes into town for shave. I think little things like shave and little services represent civilization. And so when that's disrupted and he's angry and exclaims, "What kind of town is this?" because it's, you know, the barber is getting shot at, that's the kind of thing that disrupts civilization, that it cheapens it and lessens it. And that's where his rub is, because I think the movie is a bit about him seeking civilization, as well as just the characters that live in Tombstone seeking civilization. And so those services, those objects, and the objects are what I'm talking about. And there's more probably that I'm forgetting right now, but when the Earp brothers come back to the camp to discover that their cattle has been rustled and that James Earp has been murdered, you see their faces, or actually, I don't think that you see their faces, but you see them discover what's happened and they exclaim, the cattle was gone. And before you see what happened to James Earp, you see the objects that belong to them, the cooking, the table that they had set things on, certain like cooking pots and stuff like that were there. And then you see James Earp, and you see him with his leg twisted and still hanging off the saddle. And it's things like that I think, to me, or at least made me feel that that this was, I think those are the things that destroyed the last connections, the last ties that Wyatt Earp had and his brothers had to civilization, because the only tie that they had at that point was their brother James. Who's the youngest, who him and his home cooking, which is what their connection was, I think, to civilization, to society, is home cooked meals. And when that's taken away and their brother is murdered, their only recourse then is yes, to seek justice, but they're kind of bereft of that connection to society and to civilization, and until they can start to rebuild it when they integrate into the town. And the other thing that made me feel that the movie was about, or one of the themes was about civilization, was women being also another marker of what civilization is. From the very beginning, when Mr. Earp, when he is angry that his barber was shot at, and that he still hasn't gotten a shave, he approaches the mayor and the marshal who's quitting with anger, and then sees a woman, here being the lady who's the mistress, I think she's called, the woman who runs the prostitutes, and quickly defers to her real quick, acknowledges her, calls her ma'am, before proceeding to tackle the issue at hand with Mr. Indian Charlie, or Charlie Indian, something like that, I think they called him. But it was also a Clementine's surfacing, and his interest in her, that I think brought him closer to reconnecting to civilization and to civilized society. But unfortunately, as with so many themes of the West, is that a lot of those types of men, again, Mr. John Wayne and the Searchers, is that those types of men can never truly integrate into society. They bring justice, they bring peace. That's what Henry Fonda talks about when he's at his brother's grave, is that he's wanting a world where young men like him can grow up. Is the men of the West can fight for and bring justice to the West, but they can never enjoy the fruits of their labor. And it's not for them. It's for the newer generations. I think I'll leave it at that. There's more to say, but I think it needs some more studying. Some of the ideas that I have about it need more studying, especially since I need to know more about John Ford's work. But I will leave it at that. It comes with my highest recommendation. I think that this is most likely, for the majority of you, well worth it to blind buy. Rent it if you can, if it's available to you and you don't want to buy it. But I think if you blind buy it, either through Arrow, and if you're region B, or Criterion if you're region A, you're probably not going to be disappointed. This is a fantastic, amazing movie, and I am very excited to rewatch this over the course of my life, as well as just dive more into John Ford's work, which I will begin next week with the second movie. And that one I would truly, unless I fall in love with it as well, gonna watch it and react to it. But You know, let me know what your thoughts are on this movie. You know, do you think I'm wrong? Do you think maybe my thoughts expanded something and you guys want to expand on? But let me know anything. You know, like, subscribe if you know, if that's your thing, and I will see you guys in the next video. Thanks.